All right, so these videos are something I decided to do this year so that we can get a little bit more practice on the ACT. These are not homework. They are just for your benefit to maybe get some more questions answered on this ACT practice test than maybe we're able to do in class. So this first video covers the first 2 pages about questions 1 through, I think it was either 14 or 15. We're just going to go through one at a time and kind of explain how I got the answer I got. So question 1. The blood types of 150 people were determined for a study as shown in the figure below. If one person from this study is randomly selected, what is the probability that this person has either type A or type AB blood? So there are 150 people total, so you are going to need to know that, and you can see that in our answers. It's in every answer there. So type A, there are 67, and type AB, there are 6. So if they have one or the other, I would just add those up, and we would get 73. So I would put answer D. Question 2. The monthly fees for single rooms at 5 colleges are $370, $310, $380, $340, and $310 respectively. What is the mean of these monthly fees? So mean is just another way to say average. So add them all up, divide by 5. So 370, I'm just going to add these all up here. 370, 310, 380, 340, and 310 again. Add them up, divide by 5, and I got 342. H. Question 3. On a particular road map, 1/2 inch represents 18 miles. About how many miles apart are 2 towns that are 2.5 inches apart on this map? So I would do a proportion. So 1/2 inch, I'm going to kind of change this to decimals. 0.5 inch is 18 miles. So 2.5 inches is how many miles? And then a little cross multiply here. 0.5x equals 18 times 2.5, 45. Divide by that 0.5, and we get x equals 90. So with fractions on the ACT, don't be afraid to make them decimals. There are times you might have to put them back into fractions, but if you look at that 1/2 and you're like, I can't do fractions, but if it was a 0.5 you could do it, well then make it a 0.5. Don't get too hung up on fractions like that. Given that f equals c times d to the third, f equals 450, and d equals 10, what is c? So here we've just got to plug in what we know into this original equation. So instead of f, I'm going to put 450. C, that's the one I don't know. And then instead of d, I'm going to put 10, and that third power stays there. So this side stays 450. C times 10 to the third is just 1 with 3 zeros after it. And now I want to get this c by itself, so I'm going to divide out the 1,000. So 450 divided by 1,000 is 0.45. This first option here, F. Question 5. If f of x is 3x plus 7 squared, then f of 1 equals what? So this 1 is right where the x was. So I'm just going to put a 1 wherever there's an x in my equation. So 3 times 1 plus 7, and then the whole thing squared. So 3 times 1 is just 3, plus 7 squared. 3 plus 7 is 10 squared. 10 squared is 100. So whenever you see this f of x notation, and they're putting a different number or a different variable or sometimes even a different equation in where the x is, you just put whatever that thing is wherever the x is. All right, question 6. Jorge's current hourly wage for working at Denti Smiles is $12. Jorge was told that at the beginning of next month, his new hourly wage would be an increase of 6% of his current hourly wage. What will Jorge's new hourly wage be? So 6% we first need to make into a decimal. So 0.06. But that doesn't just mean he's making 0.06 cents more. That's how much more of his salary he's making. So I'm going to do his current salary times the percent of his raise. So 12 times 0.06 is 0.72. And then add that back on to what he's currently making, and we get $12.72. So not a super great raise, but anything's better than nothing. Yep. All right, next page. Question 7. The first term is 1 in the geometric sequence 1, -3, 9, -27, etc. What is the 7th term in this geometric sequence? So geometric sequences, we are actually going to learn in Algebra 2 this year. We have not gotten to them yet, unfortunately. But it means you are multiplying to get from one term to the next. So if we started at 1, and then we had -3, and then +9, and then -27, well, there's some number, the same number over and over, that we're multiplying by to get to the next number. So looking at this, one way you can figure it out, the pattern right now is pretty easy, so a lot of you probably see it already, but one way to figure it out is to just take the second term divided by the first term. Really take any term divided by the term in front of it, and that's how much we're multiplying by each time. So we're multiplying by -3 as we go. So these are 4 terms, 5th, 6th, 7th term. I'm just going to keep multiplying by -3. So -27 times -3 is 81, times -3 is -243, times -3 is positive 729. E. The shipping rate for customers of Ship Quick consists of a fee per box and a price per pound for each box. The table below gives the fee and the price per pound for customers shipping boxes of various weights. So this is a pattern in the ACT that I want you guys to be able to recognize when they give kind of a generic fee and then they give another fee that is like a rate. So for every box you ship, there's a flat fee you're going to pay. Plus, you are going to have to pay again per pound. So these are all going to fall into a linear pattern, y equals mx plus b, where the b is the fee per box and the m is the fee per pound. Greg wants Ship Quick to ship one box that weighs 15 pounds. What is the shipping rate for this box? So 15 pounds is in this middle category. So our y equals mx plus b, well, it's going to be 65 cents per pound plus $10 just to ship it at all. And then we know the box is 15 pounds, so we got to plug that 15 in. So 0.65 times 15, and then plus the $10. So $19.75. And like I said, questions like that can be put into a linear equation, you're going to see those a lot on the ACT. So the more practice we get with those, the better it's going to go. A computer chip 0.32 centimeters thick is made up of layers of silicon. If the top and bottom layers are each 0.03 centimeters thick and the inner layers are each 0.02 centimeters thick, how many inner layers are there? So we know the total is 0.32. Now I'm going to subtract the top and bottom. So I'm going to subtract 0.06. 0.06. And I get 0.26. So that is the layers for all the inner layers. Now, to find out how many layers that is, we're going to take that 0.26 and divide it by 0.02. Divide it by the thickness of each layer. So we should, yep, we get 13. So there are 13 inner layers. So make sure to read the question. We don't want the total layers, we want just the inside ones. All right, question 10. The table below shows the number of cars Jing sold each month last year. What is the median of the data in the table? So median is middle. So we need to put the data in order and just find the middle one. So I'm going to start with the smallest one. So 13, and then 15, and then 16, and 19. Yep, just checking my order here. And another 19, that's okay, we just put them both right there. Don't skip any if there are duplicates. 22, 2 25s, and then here at the bottom, 26, 27, 28, 29. So we want the number in the middle. So I'm going to kind of just start by crossing off top and bottom, and then the next two, and then the next two, until we get to the middle. I'm doing a little bit of color coding here. So you'll notice we have two numbers. So when we have an even number, and so these two would cross off at the same time, there's no true middle, we average them. 22 plus 25 divide by 2. We get 23.5. So just be careful, a median and a mean are not the same thing. So this one you got to find the middle of the numbers. All right, number 11. Students studying motion observed a cart rolling at a constant rate along a straight line. The table below gives the distance d feet the cart was from the reference point at 1 second intervals from t equals 0 seconds to t equals 5 seconds. Which of the following equation represents the relationship between d and t? So this is another y equals mx plus b. So the starting value is b. So I can tell you right now that either of these two equations are going to be the right answer, because that number added on the end has to be whatever the equation is when time is 0. So then we're just kind of looking, is the slope 1 or is the slope 6? So as I go from one to the next, how many am I going up by? Well, it appears that we are going up by 6. So this one, just kind of by looking at the data, seeing my answers using some process of elimination, I see that the starting value is 14. I see that it's going up by, or it's going over 6 feet for every second. And so that equation is the only one that has the numbers we need. Be careful of D. Don't get your two numbers mixed up. But just remember, whenever time is 0, that is the number on the end, not the slope. All right, 12. The length of a rectangle with area 54 square centimeters is 9 centimeters. What is the perimeter of the rectangle in centimeters? So they gave me the length. Another way to think of that is base. So sometimes we say area is length times width. That's an L, not a 1. Let me rewrite that. So area equals length times width. And even that L I know looks weird. That's like a cursive L. But at our school, sometimes we'll say base times height a lot too. So I know A is 54. And I know the length or the base or whatever you want to call it is 9. I'm going to go with their length times width. So what's the width? Well, I'm just going to divide that 9 out. Width equals 6. So now what is the perimeter? So I've got this rectangle with 9 on the top and bottom, 6 on the sides. Just add them all up. So 9 plus 9 plus 6 plus 6, we get 30. In the figure below, C is the intersection of AD and BE. What, if it can be determined, what is the measure of the angle BAC? So remember, when we're naming angles, the one in the middle is where the angle is. So B to A to C, we're talking about this angle right here. So this is coming back to our good old geometry days. When we have two lines that make an X, like we do over here, these two angles are congruent. This angle is 45. Then we have to remember that triangles add up to 180. Triangles equal 180. So 45 plus 35 is 80, I believe. Yep. And then 180 minus the ones we already have is 100. So angle BAC is 100 degrees. Antoine drew the circle graph below, describing his time spent at school in one day. His teacher said that the number of hours listed were correct, but that the central angle measures for the sectors were not correct. What should the central angle measure for the core subjects? What should be the central angle measure for the core subjects sector? So this question has a lot of circle vocab in it. So central angle is the angle at the middle. So kind of like I'm doing right here on the choir sector. It's just an angle at the middle of a circle. A sector is like a pie slice. So Right now this graph has 4 different sectors, 3 small ones and 1 big one. Yeah, so the problem, the teacher said, the central angle, so this angle right here should not be 180. Right now they've got a straight line, it looks like 180. So I just want to look at the total number of hours so 4 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1. I get 9 hours. Now, core subjects is 4 of the 9 hours. And we want to know how many degrees is that out of a circle. Circles are 360 degrees. So we're going to do a little cross multiply again. So 9x, I'm going to jump over to the other side here, equals 4 times 360. 1440. Divide out that 9. And x equals 160. So it should not be a straight line across there. It should be a little bit less than that. There we go. All right, so it says go on to the next page. I do not have the video made at this very second, but you can go on to the next video and see the other questions, the next 2 pages of the practice test. Good luck to you, and let me know if you have any questions.